Hello and welcome to the Capital Games Movie Club. I am the Wiz.
And I'm Zero.
Zero. As
Yes.
two completely heterosexual men, we thought it was only fitting for Pride Month that we watch an LGBTQ movie. And we chose last week for it to be the 1996 Mike Nichols comedy, The Birdcage, starring Robin Williams, Gene Hackman, Nathan Lane, and Dianne Weist. So you essentially chose this out of the options I gave you. So why don't you start with your opinion on this comedy movie?
Yeah, mostly the reason I picked it was because just, as cliche as it is to say this, I am a sucker for anything with Robin Williams.
Oh, that's not a surprise. As a comedian, he was excellent. So that doesn't surprise me at all. But I'm really curious as to your thought of this film, though. Go ahead.
The film started off real heavy in the beginning, and then the middle sort of kind of lulls out. And there's a lot of drama, a lot of struggle, and then when you get to the end of the movie, it becomes like just a lighthearted comedy again. It was just an interesting roller coaster to me.
I'm surprised that you found it heavy because the film, and this is something with the 90s with comedy. If there is drama, they really lighten it up a lot, or they infer the drama than to let it, I guess, linger and to let it sit to be a comedy drama. Because even though the themes that the film has can be quite heavy, it's still fairly lighthearted.
Oh yeah, I mean, most of the film was lighthearted, but there is a definite sort of serious part right in the beginning. You're just like, whoa, yeah, we're getting real heavy and political on this, Jesus. And then just you get into some more comedy and everything, and I think really one of the big pieces that had me just sort of laughing in the comedy bits was Callista Flockhart's performance as kind of like the innocent senator's daughter trying to play that act off, which was hilarious.
Really, you had more of a reaction to her than any of the other actors in this, or?
Well, no,
okay,
it's just
okay.
it's just kind of one of the unique things. I was just like, wow, she's really playing off the senator's daughter is trying to get one over on her dad real hard, and this is pretty entertaining.
Yeah.
Because I mean, everyone knows her performance from Ally McBeal and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it was sort of kind of interesting to me to kind of see her in a completely different dynamic.
Right. I didn't really think of her that important in the movie, really. So the performance didn't really capture me at all. I think from the beginning, after I watched this in the theaters in '96 when it came out, and that's the last time I saw it. So watching it in today's eyes, I would say it was a real interesting experience because, like, the things I started when I started watching it, like, and it's funny to think this way, but this movie would be drastically different if it was made today. It would be the main theme of the film. The story of the film is basically this: a gay couple, which is Robin Williams, who is a director and bar owner or a drag club owner in Miami, and his wife/husband, played by Nathan Lane, who is his star, had a kid who is 20 years old and is announcing that he's getting married to a woman. That's not the issue. The issue stems from the fact that the woman is, girl, I should say. That's one thing they kind of skirt away from, but we'll not dive into that pretty much. What they find out is that the girl has parents who is a very conservative senator. That I think the name of the group that he runs is the Center of Moral Order, which is essentially an anti-gay, anti-homosexual group. So,
Yeah.
in order for the daughter, for some reason, say, "Yeah, I'll meet the parents," And
it kind of gets into spoiler territories, but there is a reason for the whole meeting the parents thing.
right, absolutely. But that's the conceit of the story, is basically that these two parents are going to meet, and essentially the gay parents have to bend over backwards for their son in order to make everything go as smooth as possible. Right there is where I would be like, yeah, that would not be made right now. Like, people look at that and go, that is backwards. Like, that is fucked. You can't. And the movie plays a lot of laughs on Gene Hackman's character, the senator, by really treating him like a doofus to a certain extent, or treating him as somebody who kind of deserves the fate he has right now. That he's in this controversy and he's going through this ordeal, but they also don't judge him for his thoughts and judge him for how he feels. They kind of accept it and move on. And that's another thing that nowadays they'll be like, no, you don't do that. You challenge that person and you treat him, you tell him how wrong he is. Like, there are so many things in this movie that, like, if it was made now, would just be changed completely to where it wouldn't be the Birdcage at that point. So that was interesting. But anyway, I think the one thing that surprised me when I first saw it, and still surprised me that now, is that really Robin Williams is the least funny person in this movie.
Yeah, and that was kind of an interesting dynamic because, I mean, he had his funny moments, but not nearly as many as the rest of the cast.
Yes. And that's not to say that he's not funny in it. That's true. But he is the straight man. He is the Jack Lemmon to, I would say, Nathan Lane's Walter Matthau in this. I'm making an Odd Couple reference. I don't think have you seen The Odd Couple?
Oh, it's been way too long.
Yeah, I figured. Okay. But, yeah. Just that dynamic alone is just like, that's strange that he's playing this calm, reserved, sort of kind of person. But Nathan Lane steals the show in this. He is really funny. Even though he plays a stereotyped, like, really flamboyant gay man, he is easily the most likable and the funniest thing in this movie.
Yeah, just a lot of the push and pull moments with Nathan Lane just had me in stitches just laughing.
The scenes where Armand, who is Williams' character, is trying to masculinize him. it's the futility of it is just hilarious, and it's even when I say that, I'm like, yeah, but it's also kind of insensitive. So, like, that's the strange thing with this movie. Like, I can even while I'm laughing, I'm pointing out, yeah, that's not going to happen now. Or, yeah, I could see some people being upset by this. And they would be right to, but to take the movie that seriously, I think, would be in your detriment as well, I would think.
Yeah, I mean, just, I kind of came at it with fresh eyes. So, I was just kind of taking with an open mind and just kind of going, okay, I'm going to try to look at this with a completely blank slate of a lens, not to think about, like, just how the modern world would see this movie or remake this movie. Right. I just want to see it as is.
Okay, and that's fair. That's a fair way to look at it. What did you think of Dan Fetterman, who played the son in this movie?
His performance was interesting because he's got some, like, real headstrong moments, like, hey, I am dead sure, or this is how things have to go. And then, of course, when things get completely bungled up, he's just like, oh dear God, why? And it's just kind of goes into the whole push and pull comedy piece of the movie as a whole. So his performance wasn't bad, but I think it just played more into the dynamics of the situations that they got themselves into.
I hated this character so damn much in this movie. I hated him so damn much. And I didn't feel this way in '96 when I saw this, but then again, I didn't think that deeply into film at that time, I don't think.
Right.
But, excuse me. But when I watched this, like, every moment after he announces he's getting married is like, this kid is a brat. I fucking hate him. I fucking hate this performance. I mean, literally, it was like, how fucking dare this kid? Really? Like, oh, Dad, don't put, like, it just, the scenes of where he's dressing down his father for being who he is, like, it is just like, Jesus fucking Christ. And this is a character you're supposed to sympathize with, to a certain extent. And I just came off it going, I fucking hate this kid, and I hope this burns down for him. But then again, I'm like, yeah, but if that happened, I would feel bad for Armand, who is a very likable character in this movie. And he's played well by Robin Williams. So it was that dynamic where I was just like, oh, God. Because the conceit basically is that they have to essentially ungay themselves to present themselves favorably to these two people that are coming. And God, like, and yeah, in the context of '96 and around that time, that was deemed acceptable. That was deemed something that, well, yeah, you have to make the other person comfortable. So, sure, you have to just understand that you're a little weird, and if you want someone to like you, you just have to conform.
Yeah. And to your piece about when Val dresses down Armand and everything, it definitely hurts a bit too, because just Armand is who he is, and he refuses to compromise, but yet at the same time, just he understands that his son wants so much and so badly to be married to Barbara that just I guess he sort of sympathizes with his son and everything.
Oh, he loves his son, and it's obvious in this movie. Yeah,
loves him, and at the same time hates that he's got to just sort of play the straight man just to get through this meeting with the parents and everything.
And they make no mention of the fact in this movie that, for first off, these two men raised this kid from birth, okay? They make no mention of that. Like, they make a mention of it, but they don't make, like, I guess a big deal of it. Where if
it's not an explicit mention, it's more implied.
Right. And when you think about it, like, if you really sit there and think about it, it's like, wait a minute. These two men were raising a young man in the 70s. Think about that for a second. Like, in the 70s and 80s. That's also during the AIDS panic. That's also during literally a gay panic in the 70s and 80s, especially when Reagan was president. Like, that dynamic would have been like, holy shit. Like to me, like, that would have been something to maybe not only hint towards, but to say, like in Armand's defense, like, we've dealt with assholes before like this. We've dealt with, people, because the throwaway line they had was that I guess Val had a teacher that was deeply bigoted, and instead of making a big deal out of it, he told his son to tell his teachers that he's just a businessman and just leave it at that, because he didn't want him to get hurt. Which shows a lot of empathy towards Armand and his character. But, again, it's a throwaway line, so it kind of doesn't have the resonance and power it could have. But because of the type of comedy it is, it really, I guess it really wouldn't fit very well, especially with the time that it was in. I know you're probably getting a little annoyed with me with this because I'm taking this completely different stance that maybe I shouldn't with a movie that was made. Good God, is it almost 30 years ago? Holy shit! But it's just, to me, fascinating to watch this movie and and see how far, I would say, the gay community, the LGBTQ community, has gone from being pariahs and being considered weird to them being accepted to the extent that they are now. So, and this was 96. So I that was the one thing I kept, even though I was having a good time and I was laughing at the movie, in the back of my head I was like, wow, like this is definitely something that should be studied to a certain extent.
Yeah, and I think really just sort of all the perspective of just modern day culture versus the time era that we're in now with LGBTQ acceptance. That all sort of came to me after watching the movie, and it was just like, wow, yeah, holy cow! Just there are just so many things that just would not fly in modern day society with where it is now,
right?
With perspective to this movie,
right? Like the we'll get into I was going to get into something, but that's more of a spoiler thing. Even though probably the funniest gag in the movie is spoiled by the trailer, which I fucking hate, but we won't spoil it right now. What else? Yeah. The four main principal actors are really good. Gene Hackman plays his character well. And Gene Hackman's not known for a comedic actor. He's more known for being more of a serious actor. But he has comedic chops, and he shows that in the movie. And he's willing to play a character that's detestable, but also gets... Also, just for being who he is, gets laughs just because of the comeuppance that he gets, in a certain extent. I guess is where those laughs come from. Like, it's more like, this idiot who thinks backwards. What a lark is kind of what the laughs come across as in this.
Yeah.
But Nathan Lane steals the show. He's easily the best. He's easily the best actor and easily the best character in this movie, and he's so lovable. And he's just such a charismatic character, even though it's a stereotype, and I know it is. But he relishes playing this role in this movie, like this drama queen who essentially is supposed to be the chaos factor in the movie, the one that everyone has to tiptoe around, but he really is the heart of the movie, which I thought was an interesting dynamic in the movie, and I really liked his performance. I really did. Like, I liked him when I first saw it years ago, and I ended up liking it more now. So I think that's just a great performance.
Overall, just the cast was great. Just especially with the parts that they all play and everything. So yeah, for a movie that it was a first go for me, yeah, it was just a real entertaining time. Just at least with shutting my mind off from just the modern day perspective on things. So yeah, just a great comedy all around.
Right. I mean, and if you're able to do that, that's great. I couldn't. I kept thinking, like, wow, I think, because I don't know many, but I think the LGBTQ community likes this movie. I think I can appreciate it, I guess. Do I know that generally? No. But I don't hear people saying that this is a bad movie or this is a terrible movie for that movement and for those people. But yeah, I but like I watched this and I'm like, wow, how far have we come on this? So, like literally, this is a to me a time capsule to a certain extent. On whereas the movie Cruising is a time capsule on how the gay community was treated in the 80s. This is kind of a capsule for the 90s, and it's interesting to see it that way and to watch that dynamic go out, even though it doesn't really treat the characters with they treat them like eccentrics in the movie, which I think is an issue, but they kind of treat them with respect, I think, but they're still treated like outsiders in their own home, which is unfortunate, I would say, in the movie.
Yeah, and I think to your point, it's more that there is some exaggeration, but it's not taken to an overt extreme.
Yes, that's right. You're right. Even when Albert is the character that Nathan Lane plays, even when Albert is being even when Albert's being Albert, and if you see the movie, you'll understand what I'm saying. It's not unbelievable. It's not like a caricature. It's just it's a delightful quality that you have in this character where, yeah, he's a little over the top, but he's still lovable. And for someone like an actor, you'd have to have an actor like Nathan Lane play that, because an actor who isn't as seasoned would probably turn that into a caricature. So, yeah, I really enjoyed Nathan Lane in this. So, do we get the spoilers?
Yeah.
Okay. We are going to get into spoilers for the Birdcage. If you want to stop listening now and go watch, go ahead, and then come back and listen to the rest. We'll get into spoilers in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I really want to emphasize how much I hate the son in this movie. Oh my god. Like, seriously. And yes, I'm thinking of it in a way now. Like, if I was Armand and I had a son like this, literally I would tell him to go fuck himself. Like, literally, I would be like, dude, yeah, it's good that you're getting married. I'm happy for you. Well, really, he's not. But I'm happy for you. But you're telling me, in order for you to marry this person, I have to change everything about me for these assholes to respect me? Fuck that shit. That's bullshit. And, like, that's the immediate thing I started thinking about. I was like, if that were me, I wouldn't have been so kind. I wouldn't have been so understanding. And yeah, and there are lines in the movie where basically Armand tells him, I hid myself for a long time and I'm happy with who I am. And he fought back and there was that push and pull, but he later acquiesced. But the fact that it just felt like this character had zero appreciation of it and just was like, yeah, you're my father, so if you love me, you'll do this, was like, to me, it was like, that's fucked. Like, I'm watching this and go, that is just fucking awful. Like, good God.
Yeah, and I mean, I can definitely see that, and the whole dinner piece is kind of a funny irony too, because of course, just Val's thinking, okay, whatever, we get married, whatever, no big deal, and then of course, just Barbara's father gets embroiled in a scandal because the vice chairman of his moral coalition ends up dead because and at the time of his death he was with an underage black female prostitute.
Yep.
And of course, just like the modern day news cycle, just the news cycle during the time frame of the movie just goes absolutely ape shit with it, and
right.
They've got like paparazzos talking to the prostitute, going, "Yeah, so can you tell us about his last moments and all this other stuff?" And of course, they're trying to chase the senator down, and
right.
get him to ask questions, and then of course he gets desperate. He's like, "Oh God, I need an escape. I need to get out." And then that's when just Barbara makes the silly suggestion of, "Hey, how about we go, meet the parents and everything."
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh my God, what a terrible idea.
I know. Which goes to show that they stayed true to that character who is just a political climber who basically said, "Oh, this is perfect." Like, I think the mother was like, "Just imagine a wedding in white and about hope and about this and that will wash away this entire problem we're having." And I was like, yeah, I can see a politician doing that, absolutely, not realizing what they're getting themselves into right now. But, yeah, like, as a vehicle for the comedy in the movie, like, it definitely is, it's definitely supposed to play its fish out of water aspects for laughs. Like, oh, here's these uptight conservative people are going to meet these crazy gay guys. Oh, and watch the hilarity ensue. And it's like, and back then, it was acceptable, and it was like, yeah, those crazy gays. Oh boy, with their chains and their wife beaters and hairy chests. Yeah, those crazy gays. Now you think about it, and it's just like, ew. Like, what? Ew, really? Like, that's kind of fucked. Like that, but like I get the culture clash dynamic to a certain extent, and where those laughs could happen, but man, like, you have to swallow hard, and I mean hard. I had to, at least. I had to swallow hard to be like, okay, this is from the times. This is not now. So, and this is how people thought back then. So, yes, I just go with it. And I was able to go with it and enjoy it. But I can just see some people watching this and being like, this is so gay-phobic. This is so just, like, wrong. How can you enjoy this? Oh my God. And just trouncing that movie as, like, a relic of the times. Which it is, to a certain extent. But yeah, for a gay couple that loves each other, the most they do is hold hands, and it's only in dramatic affectation scenes. Whereas now, there'd be a lot more kissing, there'd be hugging, there'd be affection, maybe a sex scene. But that could also be argued that maybe that's not necessary in this type of movie. But I definitely noted that for a gay couple who loves each other as much as they say they do, like, they're not really that affectionate, which is, I found surprising, especially with a character like Albert, who in the beginning you sense would crave that affection. So
Yeah, absolutely. Just because I know that was one thing I was just like, yeah, just the affection looks subdued, but with respect to the time, it may have been just how things were in the 80s, just to kind of, especially if Armand was trying to sort of try to sort of get himself mentally psyched up to the mindset of trying to present himself as straight and morally upstanding to the potential in-laws and stuff. Maybe it was he was kind of subdued for that. I just don't really know the thought process on the filming of this particular movie and everything. So
yeah,
I can't really say this way or another.
I like how basically, like, I think it's funny how like, I guess we'll get into the ending of the movie, or the end piece, the third half. Jesus Christ, the third act. The fact that they play for laughs, like, it's interesting how they play for laughs that these people who tried to change their lives drastically for this couple, and it fails so fucking miserably, that they play it for laughs and it works, is really just shows how great the screenplay is. The screenplay is written by Elaine May, who wrote and directed movies like Mikey and Nicky, which is a really good movie about friendship decaying over time. But it really, like, I was surprised by how much I was laughing at those scenes, because again, with lesser actors and maybe a less sensitive screenplay, that would have been really insensitive and really disastrous to watch. But it actually works in the movie for the third act, especially when the twist happens. And when the twist happens is when things just get crazy, and they and it's important they got this right. Do you want to go ahead and talk about what happens?
Yeah. So in the third act, just Armand has his ex-wife show up, and then a call is put to his ex-wife to cancel coming out and everything, and then she ends up calling back. Val picks up the phone, and he's just like, "Oh yeah, Mom, please come by." And of course, it just complicates things even further. And then, of course, just while just things are going completely off the rails with Val, Armand, and just everyone sort of just freaking out, Armand's ex-wife shows up, and it's just like, well, surprise!
You're missing the big twist. The big twist, basically what happens is the ex-wife, it was actually the ex-girlfriend. I don't think they were married, but whatever, that's fine. The ex-wife is supposed to be the mother in the sham marriage that they're presenting to these people. But she's running late, and she's unable to make it. So while they're waiting, Albert comes out in drag, acting like the wife.
Right.
And that's the twist I'm getting at. Like, because they unfortunately spoil that in the trailer of the movie, that happens. But when it happens in the movie, it's just like, oh my God, things are going to go horribly wrong. And they surprisingly don't. Like, it actually, like, and it's kind of touching in a way that if you just let Albert be Albert, everything would have been just fine. Because the senator, who, again, deeply bigoted and just, he doesn't come across as hating the gays, but with what he's associated with, you would be right to think he does. But he ends up being absolutely charmed by her, to the point that he's defending her from his wife.
Yeah.
So,
especially when just he's talking to his wife, going, "And you don't understand. There's just not enough people out there with values, and she's one of the rare few." And it's just like, oh, the irony! The irony is just gonna sucker punch you in the face.
And the fact that it really doesn't. Like, when it's finally found out that she's a man, like, she's in drag, and he's still like, what? Wait, what? Like, he doesn't blow up. He doesn't call them names. He doesn't, like, he's just, like, mystified, like, oh wow, like, it's almost not really, but it's kind of like, huh, maybe I have this wrong a little bit, you know? But they don't go that deep in there. So if you hear what I'm saying and you think I'm wrong, fine. I can admit that I'm wrong. But to me, it was like a very, very tacit response of, huh, maybe I kind of have this wrong a bit. But they really play it for laughs in the end. What I had an issue with the end of basically that the senator pretty much gets away with everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's one of those happy endings for everybody, where the senator doesn't get embarrassed, the kids get married, and everything is just okay. A part of me was kind of like, I kind of want to get the senator humiliated. I kind of want him to have a turnaround, or to have something where it's just like, I don't know. Like, I really felt like, I guess I'm using today's sensibilities to an extent, but it was interesting that basically everyone lived happily ever after. And it was just like part of me is like, I don't want the son to have a happy ending. I kind of don't want the senator to have a happy ending. Like, I would have been happy if they're like, yeah, and you're all assholes, fuck you, and then end credits. But that's not what happens. But yeah, I'm like, that's. But of course, for the times, that would have been way too progressive for the times. So that was clearly not going to happen, because unfortunately, there were a lot more people out there who would have looked at the senator and been like, yeah, I can kind of sympathize, and just be like, oh, and not realize how kind of fucked that is. But yeah, I mean, again, but I'm using today's sensibilities on a movie that was from '96, so yeah. That might be my issue there.
Yeah. So, and I sort of took minor issue with it too, even with coming into the movie with a blank slate of a mind and everything, because I was expecting something like for him to turn around and just go, fine, yeah, I hang out with gay folks. They seem like normal, upstanding, moral people to me. And
yeah, like. Or like
a big turnaround or something.
Or like apologize that they had to do this. Or maybe it would have been too melodramatic to have a speech where he's like, I was wrong about these people, and there are some people that are different than me, that are good people. But then again, maybe that wouldn't fit the character. So, I guess not. But it just, to me, to have this tidy, happy ending where the gays save the day for the bigoted straights, it's just like, I was like, I don't know. Like, that feels kind of wrong. So, okay. Yeah. I guess this will just come down to, if this was remade for today, I think this would be a drastically different movie. This would be more of a drama movie. This would be more of a serious, contemplative movie. It would probably be more about Armand and his inability to actually be able to conform to society the way that they want him to, and his steadfastness not to do that. I think that's what the movie would be, and it would just be a completely different movie after that. So, yeah, like, that's why I think that this movie would not be made today at all. Like, this is clearly not even a campy relic, but this is a relic for the 90s, and it probably will stay that way forever at this point. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I can definitely agree with that, especially just with how much recognition of LGBTQ people have just, it's just changed in just a drastic amount of time. Just,
yeah.
There's just no way to sort of capture the comedic pieces that this movie from '96 had, if you were to try to remake it with today's sensibilities.
I kind of want to get. I would hate to do this to somebody, really, but I would really like to talk to some gay people from today, probably younger than me, who will watch this movie and will be like, what do you think of it? What do you get out of it? Did you find it funny? Did you find it enjoyable? And see what their reaction is, because we're only having a reaction from people who essentially are on the outside looking in and kind of having, I guess just having a diorama look at it, where it's like, oh, this is interesting. This is a window to a life and to a mentality that we won't have and we won't 100% understand. I think I would really be interested and see how, I guess, the community actually thinks about this movie now, because the reason why I chose this movie as one of the movies for you to select is, I think it was it was Esquire. Esquire had the top 50 best LGBTQ movies, and this was number 13. And like, I really wonder if that writer was gay themselves, and if they are, great, and B, if they would really have to explain to some people these days that you would have to think of this as a relic. You would have to think of this as how do I put this? You would have to think of this as just a window of the times, and not as a condemnation, or not as a way of how you should be. Like, yes, condemn these certain aspects, but this really was something from that time that, and they do treat these people positively. They treat them like human beings, but yeah, I'm like, I really would wonder how someone would watch this movie and what they would come out with. I would say. So yeah, got more to add?
No. Just I think we're probably good to go to closing thoughts.
Yes. So why don't you start with your closing thoughts then?
Overall, just I felt it was a fun movie, with some heartwarming moments, some frustrating moments, and unfortunately, just the ending leaves a little bit to be desired. But overall, I still think it's a grand film, and definitely one that if you're a fan of Robin Williams, you should not skip it, because just his performance, while not too heavy on the comedy end, it's still very good.
Yes, I agree. This is my second time seeing it. I enjoyed it. I think it's funny, and yeah, there are some really funny moments in this. Nathan Lane owns the movie. He is the funniest thing in this movie, and it's really a shame that he became more popular as a theater actor, so I guess it's not much of a shame that he didn't do more movies, but anyway, he'll always be Timon, though. He'll always be Timon from The Lion King. So he's got that going for him. Yeah, it is a funny movie. I enjoy it, but I can't help but think of this in the lens of today, and just note the different things about it that may not work for today, or that some might find offensive, or it will just be a relic, or will just be a window into the past and how people of that persuasion were treated. So yeah, I think honestly this is a movie that should be studied to a certain extent for certain things. But if you don't even think that deeply, it is an enjoyable movie. It's funny, and yeah, I definitely enjoyed it. So it's a good movie. I'd be curious to see the movie that this was remade from. This was actually a remake of a 70s French film that was nominated for 3 Oscars when it came out. So I'm kind of interested in seeing how that movie is, and if it's exactly like this. So yeah, good movie. All right, Zero. So we've gotten through that, and I wasn't able to do this in our Capital Games podcast, so I get to do it now. So, Zero, I have a question for you.
All right.
Okay. I had a bunch of things I could have talked about here. We could have talked about my strange reasoning that I kind of want to see the new Barbie movie. So, but I think that would be more self-serving. So I'm going to choose this. It was announced last week that Todd Phillips wrote a script for a sequel to The Joker. Okay? And not only that he will more than likely lead the DC universe. He'll be the lead for the new upcoming DC Universe movies because Joker was so popular. They then announced that the new Joker movie is going to have Lady Gaga in it as Harley Quinn. And it will be a musical. I want your thoughts as someone who I know watched the movie and enjoyed it. What do you think of there being a Joker sequel and that it's going to be a musical?
First thought when I heard the whole thing, and then the tagline at the end of the whole premise of a sequel being, oh, by the way, it's a musical. First thing I thought was, I was like, oh my god, this is going to be like Sweeney Todd, but in the world of Joker. Wow. This seems weird.
Yeah.
Especially considering just, I mean, I've said this to you in private conversation and everything, but Joker seemed like a sort of like interesting movie if that the Joker angle was sort of just shoehorned in to kind of make it more interesting.
I 100% agree with the fact that the Joker and Batman elements are basically stapled on there. Yeah.
Yeah, so just for me, I'm just like, yeah, I just don't know how this is going to turn out, especially with them going with a musical angle for the sequel. And I mean, as always, best of luck to them. They've got a long road ahead.
I'm surprised by how many people are excited by this movie. And they're excited because sequel to Joker, and that's it. Because Joker got a lot of fans. And the reason why the Joker got a lot of fans is basically people were expecting a Batman movie, and they got a thoughtful piece about mental health and our society's inability to want to help people with those problems, and the eventual cost of what that might be if we don't do something. You've already said it, and I agree with you. The Batman Joker trappings are probably the weakest part of that movie, aside from the girlfriend thing that happened in the movie. That I just was like, that was completely unnecessary. Why would you do that? But anyway, I have a bunch of issues with this, and the issue I have basically comes, and this is going to sound mean, I think Joker, the way it like how they made Joker to be what it is, was due more to luck than skill. I mean, they were lucky to get Joaquin Phoenix to play that role and to really own that movie. And if it wasn't for Joaquin Phoenix being in that movie, it would have tanked. And the director who is now being championed as probably one of the better directors out there. Let me get his IMDb page. When I tell you these movies, tell me how you feel about this guy being, I guess, now considered an auteur. His most popular movies, all right, according to IMDb, are The Hangover, Hangover Part 2, Hangover Part 3, War Dogs, Due Date, School for Scoundrels, Starsky and Hutch, Old School, Road Trip. These were the movies he was doing before Joker. And the reason why he did Joker was basically he felt he could not do comedies anymore. To me, and remembering his films that he did, these weren't really deep, thoughtful, contemplative movies. These were admittedly good comedies, except for Hangover Part 2 and 3. They were just kind of, and The School for Scoundrels sucked too. I don't want to forget that. These were just kind of, I don't know. These were passable comedy movies that people remember more for, let's say, like a Will Ferrell joke, or like the jokes, like the writing, the comedy, than they do about the director's style. And the fact that the director cribbed so liberally from Scorsese and Joker, Like, most people are not going to notice that unless they really like Scorsese, but I did, and I noticed it right away. That they're like, oh, so you're just basically doing Taxi Driver again, and you're doing King of Comedy again. Okay, great. Okay, cool. And he's already admitted that the inspiration for this movie is New York, New York, which it is not a good Scorsese film. Really makes it. Okay, calling something a bad Scorsese film is kind of also unfair, because a bad Scorsese film is better than most bad movies, but it is a bad Scorsese film. It really, like, I would say I'll put it this way. It's like calling Godfather 3 a bad movie. It really isn't. It's a good movie, but it's not, but compared to the other two Godfathers, yeah, it's bad. But that's the same thing with Scorsese. Yeah, comparing New York, New York to Goodfellas, to Age of Innocence, to Hugo, to Taxi Driver, Raging Bull. Yeah, you're going to look at that and says, yeah, that doesn't hold up. I think, honestly, if this keeps going forward, that it's going to tank and it's not going to do well, and it's just going to expose this director to what he is. It is a comedy director who had a once-in-a-lifetime flash-in-a-pan movie that worked out really well, but lightning doesn't strike twice, and it's not going to in this. It's going to flop. And it's mean for me to say it, but I really feel that's what's going to happen in this.
Yeah, and I have to agree because I know that there's some folks who probably thought Joker was like the best thing ever, and it's not to say that Joker was a bad movie or anything.
No, it's not. No.
I totally agree with you. Just they struck, or the director just struck lightning in a bottle and lucked out. And for me, stuff like The Hangout, I felt much like you. It was just like, okay, just kind of passable comedy, whatever. But yeah, it wasn't like, yeah, this is like the peak of high cinema or whatever.
Right. Like, my opinion on Joker is basically, if you did not have Joaquin Phoenix acting his ass off in this movie, and he did, he took a passable script and made a performance of a lifetime in this movie. That movie would not be good. Like, Joaquin Phoenix is that entire movie. And I get why a lot of people really like Joker, because most people don't watch these movies. They don't. You tell a person that, oh, this is a movie about someone who's struggling with their mental health and how society treats them, are going to say, I don't want to watch that shit. Give me Fast and the Furious.
Yeah.
But then you wrap that up in, oh, Joker? Like Batman? I'll watch a Batman film. And then they watch it, and they're surprised by what they're watching, and they're surprised that they're enjoying it so much that, yeah, they're going to come away with it being blown the fuck away. Oh, movies can be like this? Oh my God. That's incredible. Which is why a lot of people who aren't big movie fans or who don't watch a lot of movies absolutely adore this movie. I get it. And it should be praised. Again, for the performance alone, it's fantastic. But even so, like, the only thing that the movie should have been nominated for was Best Actor, and that's it. But it got nominated for Best Film, Best Director, Best Screenplay, Best Set Design, Best Cinematography. And I look at all of that and go, it's a fucking Scorsese film. It's a Scorsese knockoff. How can this be some of the best cinema of that year when they're openly cribbing Scorsese? Like, come on. Like, I'll say it again. I think this will tank. I think it will not end up very well. I think the director is biting off more he can chew, and he's going to get exposed. And if that happens, you're going to have two really good performers who are going to look really bad, and that's not going to turn out well for him. So I don't know. I know a lot of people are excited by this. They're gonna be like, "Oh, why are you gonna harsh my buzz?" But like, I look at this one and I'm like, this has the smell of a disaster coming. So, especially if Warner Brothers are saying we're gonna base the next few hero movies on this guy's vision, where I'm kind of like, did you not watch the movie? he goes to jail in the end. He's ostracized. He's considered a menace. This is not supposed to be this is not something that makes gobs and gobs of money. If you remake this movie into a Green Lantern movie, it won't work. It's like, I look at that and I'm like, I don't think you get why people like this movie. So yeah, I don't know. I'm looking at it and just saying to myself, this shouldn't be made. But okay, we'll see.
Yeah, it's a total monkey paw sort of thing.
Yeah, it is. It is, absolutely. Okay, so we are going to get down to what we're going to watch next week. And since we're talking about Joker and how much of a Scorsese knockoff it really is, I thought I'd have Zero go through Martin Scorsese's catalog of films and have him choose which one he wants to watch. Now, we're going to have to make sure this is streamable, so, or we can stream it somewhere. And hopefully we can, but yeah, if you want help to maybe we should guide towards, I can help. But yeah, go ahead and take a look at his filmography. Oh, there's more than I realized. Holy shit.
Yeah. I was probably just going to go with sort of an easy choice, mostly because it's very accessible right now.
Okay.
The Irishman.
Ooh.
A monster film. So,
okay.
But also, it's pivotal because I know before the show you were talking about how just Scorsese has explicitly said that he is just not a fan of streaming. He thinks it's just a terrible thing to do with movies and everything, and apparently just this one was one he inked a deal with Netflix to produce.
Right, and he was able to get this in theaters for I think a day or two, so he can get the chance to get an Oscar for this, but and he got nominated. So, but be prepared if you're gonna watch with us. This is a 3.5 hour movie, so gate some time for yourselves to watch this. And actually, I haven't watched it, so this is going to be a first for me. So we're gonna watch this together, and I have the Criterion, so I'm not gonna pay for Netflix to watch this. So I'm quite happy, so I can do that. Okay, so next week we will be watching Martin Scorsese's latest film, The Irishman, starring Robert De Niro, Al Pacino, Joe Pesci, Harvey Keitel, and Ray Romano. Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Ray Romano. Okay. I'm just looking at the cast and I saw Ray Romano. I'm like, okay, I'll bite. So if you're gonna watch with us, go ahead and watch with us. And if you have questions, you can always email us at zerowizcast@gmail.com, or you can post a comment on our YouTube. Or on our Twitter if you choose to. That's it for this episode of the Capital Games Movie Club. I am the Wiz.
And I'm Zero.
We'll talk to you next time.